There's a huge portion of the population, really you look at anybody earning less than $40,000 a year, simply cannot qualify for the many apartments or most of the traditional housing options in their areas.
So Atticus, let's dive into the first part of the biggest challenge or the biggest thing to try to understand when it comes to the housing crisis. Maybe you can define it in your words, right? And how you see it, and perhaps how people aren't seeing it today and how you're seeing it. And then let's talk about some solutions after that, okay?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so really two major problems that folks need to be aware of. One, I'm sure if anyone's been paying attention to the news, they've seen we have a massive supply problem, and so this boils down to basic economic fundamentals, supply and demand. And for the last 12 years, we really just haven't producing nearly enough supply of housing to be able to maintain affordability in any sense of the word. The second problem, which is equally as significant but much lesser understood, is access. And as we look at how housing providers mitigate risk through qualifying criteria such as minimum incomes at 3 times the monthly rent, minimum credit scores, minimum deposits, all of these things ultimately create barriers to access. And it's at a point now where there's a huge portion of the population, really you look at anybody earning less than $40,000 a year, simply cannot qualify for the many apartments or most of the traditional housing options in their areas. So it means that the people who are serving our communities literally and working there cannot afford those traditional housing options.
Got it. So the first one is just supply. That's pretty obvious, right? There's too much demand, not enough supply being created. And that's a challenge, and we can maybe dig into some of those ways to solve that. The second one being just access, that it's difficult for people to even qualify for even to rent the rent or, of course, a house, right? Because the 3 times the monthly rent, typical minimum requirement, and the minimum credit score. So if you're making less than $40,000 a year, good luck getting qualified. Is that a fair summary so far?
Exactly right.
Excellent.